Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. A few weeks ago, an artist reached out to me and asked me if I could engrave some of their art into a serving board. I said, sure, send me a file, I'll give it a shot. And they sent me this file right here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to process a file just like this through LightBurn, burn it using your diode laser, and get this finished product right here. So stick around because this build starts right now. Alright, so we're back at my desk and I just wanted to show you what the actual image looked like that was texted to me. So this was the image itself. And as you can see, it's not exactly a great quality of an image, but LightBurn can easily decipher the lines and everything on this. So it's, as you can see in the beginning, it's going to come out quite nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to first import the image into LightBurn. So I'm going to just take the image and drag it and drop it to my screen. Alright, now that we have our image imported into LightBurn, we're going to resize it. And to resize it, I'm just going to take the anchor in the bottom right corner, click my mouse, and drag it and drop it closer to the top left corner. Then with the button in the center of the image, I'm just going to drag it and drop it into the middle of my work area. First thing we have to do now is trace our image. And to trace our image, we want to make sure we've selected our image. We go up to Tools and we hit Trace Image. In this window, what you're going to see is all this pink or purple, whatever color you consider this, is what LightBurn sees. If we have it on fill, it's going to go in between the actual pink areas and engrave in there, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. If we were doing line images, it would actually cut them out. So if you had your laser strong enough and you were using something like 3mm plywood. There's only one problem with this image right here, and it's all these little circles that you see. And these are very tiny and they cause a problem because once you're engraving that hot laser, it's just going to burn. It's not going to leave these little red circles there. It's going to burn right through it. So to eliminate some of them, what we're going to do is we're going to increase our threshold. And as you can see, by increasing the threshold, they're getting smaller and smaller and we're eliminating some of them. Now if we go back out, we'll see that a lot less are actually selected. Now one other thing we want to do, we want to make sure we have delete image after trace selected, because we don't want to actually see the image anymore. We just want the outline. We want to know what is actually going on. So we're going to hit OK. And there's our image. The one thing is we want to still remove some of these little circles here. Now, if we select it, if you notice, it selects everything, and that's because it is grouped all together. So to ungroup it, we're going to come up to the top and we're going to select the single person icon up here, and it's going to ungroup everything. Now when I go in, I can just highlight the actual individual ones and go ahead and delete them. Now I'm deleting these because they're very small. Like this one right here, it's only 3/4 of a millimeter, and so we know that there's 25 millimeters in an inch, so this is very small, and once the laser passes over it, it's just going to burn, so you might as well just get rid of them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and remove all these smaller circles and odd shapes. All right, so now we've removed a bunch of them. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. We're going to go ahead now and start to look at the actual engraving for it. So if we come up to the right up here at the top, you'll see it's on fill, and that's the proper one we want, because there's line and fill. Line is what you use to cut things out or draw around them. If we wanted to just do the outside of the tree, let's just say like right along here, I would leave this on line. But because we wanted to actually engrave everything that's in the middle here, we're going to hit fill, and it'll actually engrave in between. So we have to now select our power and our speed. I've done this before, so I know for a fact that I like the speed to be at 4,000 millimeters per minute with a max power of 75%. And that for me in my laser diode is perfect. So there we go. And if you notice here, I've got the air off. You only want the air on if you are actually cutting, because it gives you a nice clean line. But because we're engraving, we're going to leave that off, and we're going to just do output is on, of course, so it does it, and the show so we can actually see it. And that's it. Now we can save this file and we can go over to the engraver and start engraving. So here's the engraving, and it's right at the end. And to tell you the truth, I actually made 2 passes of it. I felt the first one wasn't deep enough. And as long as you don't move your engraver or the wood, it will engrave over the exact same place. So after that, 2 passes, there it is. Perfect, a little deep, just like I wanted it. Once all the engraving is done, I like to take my work and then surround it with silicone. This way I can overflow the center with silicone and it's not going to run all over the table. One other thing to remember is make sure you level your boards. You don't want the resin going all to one side. Now, as you notice here, there's actually 2 boards. The artist called me up and asked me if I could make a second board, and I was in the middle of it, and I said, perfect timing, so sure. So there it is now, a second board being made at the same time. So mixing my resin and adding a little color, and then pour it in to the actual where the pine trees are. Once I pour it in, I'm going to use a little spatula and make sure that it gets to every little groove that was engraved by the engraver. Alright, after a week of curing, it's time to sand down the overfill. And like always, left to right, overlapping 50%, not going faster than 1 inch per second. Then up and down again, overlapping 50%, not exceeding 1 inch per second. This ensures you that you get no pigtails in your wood or your resin. Once all that extra resin is gone, I'm going to continue sanding the board, starting with a 60 grit, 80, 120, 150, 180, all the way up to 1000. However, one thing to remember is this: between grits, always take a wet cloth and wipe down your board. This will pop the grain to ensure that you'll always have a nice finish on it, and when it gets wet for the first time, it'll stay nice and smooth. Next, I'm going to do a round over. Now I usually do the round over at about the 180 grit. And the reason I do it at 180 grit is it allows me to incorporate the sanding of the higher grits of sandpaper into the bevel of the round over. So it becomes nice and smooth and you don't feel any bumps or any corners, kind of a thing. Like I said, remember, always wipe down your boards after you're done sanding at that grit. Now, at the final step here, we're going to start to buff the resin, make sure we get a little shine out of it. So I use a little bit of turtle wax rubbing compound and a bonnet on a drill and just take my time. And I know this is going to look like it's quick. I only took a minute or 2 to do this, but I actually took about 5 minutes. Use a little bit of water, keep it moist, and keep buffing it. And there you go. It comes out perfect, and when you run your hand over that, you can't even feel that those trees of resin are there. Final step, a little bit of oil to finish it, and this oil is great because it's food safe and it really protects the board. Now after about 20 minutes, just give it a good wipe down and then just a little bit of a rub, and it brings out all those beautiful colors. There you go, the finished product. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I really would appreciate a like and subscribe. Hey, and I hope to see you in future videos. Thanks for sticking around. Take care.